Hi everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio. I'm back to finish colouring this page called The Elephant in the Room, and it is from Hide and Seek, the new book by R.J. Hampson. And I used Ohuhu alcohol markers to start this page, and I just thought I'd show you that's the texture that I was able to create using the colourless blender and just the marker, you know, to make it look like it was a textured rug. So I'm going to play that up a bit with coloured pencil as well. And yeah, that colour's blowing right out there, but that's unusual colour that I chose there. So what I'm going to do is use coloured pencil, Prismacolor pencils, to put some texture and details and a bit of shading into that. And I'm also going to use metallic gel pens for some of those details as well. So I'm just getting my pens closer where I can reach them. And it's casting a bit of a shadow, I'm afraid. I've got my pens in a big tub here. So that's what you can see, casting a bit of a shadow there. Let's see, that's about as good as I can get you in frame, I'm afraid, at this stage, but we'll get started and we'll see how we go. So I've had a bit of a drink. I had a coughing fit and sneezing and so on in the last one. If you watched, I'm sorry about that. So I've had a cool drink and tried to sort of get myself past that point. And right, we'll get started. So when I've done the alcohol marker base, sometimes I'm happy to leave it without any details or too much done to it, but I'd just like to show you what you can do and how you can finish off an alcohol marker base. So I'll start with the wall behind there, and let's see, what have I got here? This is Seashell Pink. So I like to try and use some similar but contrasting, slightly contrasting colour to bring in some texture and make it look like the wall might be some sort of, you know, textured decor paint, or it's been rendered, or it's stucco or something like that. And so what I try to do is pick something very similar, but just different enough that it's going to show up against that background. And I basically like to try and do very much like a bit of a hatching. So one way and then the other way. And I don't blend it, I do it really scruffy and random. And what I do is I try to look for areas where the marker has been a little bit patchy. So if there's a lighter area, I'll exploit that with a lighter pencil, but the darker pencil I use in areas where it's a little bit more dark and saturated and perhaps a bit too solid, and that helps to break up some of that. And consider, if you start putting it on one side of an object, that you might follow it on through the other side and a bit, you know, of an angle or diagonal or something, because then, you know, it looks more realistic. If I'd stopped here and didn't have anything over here, it's going to look a bit odd. So just keep re-evaluating it as you go. And then, for example, the lighter areas, I might get a white and just lightly, very, very lightly play that up and make it that little bit brighter. And you know, it's all random. You don't want it too obviously placed, and you don't want it too symmetrical either. You want it to look very random, like something is faded, you know, like if you think about an old house, if wallpaper is faded, it's not necessarily, you know, faded in symmetrical stripes or whatever. It's random, it's all over the place and unexpected. Okay, so we'll leave that for now. I'm going to put some shadows around the objects eventually, just to make them look like they're anchored on there and they're not just sitting on there. So again, while I've got that white out, I would also maybe do that very lightly in places on the fabrics as well. And it makes them look like they're old and faded and, you know, perhaps a little bit of, you know, faded elegance or a bit dusty. And it's just to stop, you know, it looking all too perfect. And I might just put some little bits of that in there to play up where I use the alcohol blender, colourless alcohol blender, to take some of the colour out and make it a bit patchy. And I think I might leave their bellies white, I don't know yet. Okay, so now I'm going to look for some colours that are similar to the blues and greys so that I can, you know, play up that texture a bit. So I think that was blue-grey that I used behind there. So if I could look for something similar in the Prismacolor, just use the sharpener. So this one is called Slate Grey, PC936. And I'm just going to do that. So if you think about wood panelling, the areas that may look a bit darker or shadowed may be where the wood is joined. But I'm not doing it too regular or symmetrical because then that would look really forced and odd. If you want to do something like this and you're not sure about placement of shadow for some of these things, maybe look at Pinterest or Google images of shabby chic decor, for example, and look at some painted objects and have a look at where light and dark falls, and see whether there's a pattern to where things tend to look darker or shabbier or more worn. So let's get that white out again. And so once I've got a few darker areas in, I can then come back, and the lighter areas are probably more likely to be down the centre of the boards. Okay, so I'm not going to go overboard with it. I'll try and remember to put the colours down for you as well if I can. Right, with the blues, I think let's have a look. What's this one? This is Blue Lake PC1102, which is a very close match, a little bit darker. And I'm just doing that where that head rest or arm rest is overlapping there. And it may not be too obvious on camera, but I will lift this up and show you, because to my eye, pardon me, in real life it is. So I always feel like these funny characters that R.J. Hampson draws, I always feel like their homes are like shabby chic, faded elegance, you know, just that little bit rough around the edges. So whenever I've done Mr. Fogarty's house or any sort of character house, I end up doing this, and I'm probably getting a bit predictable with it now, but I enjoy doing it this way. It's, you know, just a bit of fun. So here what I'm doing is I'm thinking about if there are folds in the curtain where shadows might fall, where, you know, where the curtain might be a bit scruffy or faded or, you know, whatever. That's sort of the thinking that I've got. Now we've got all lighter bits, but of course carpet rugs, if they've got texture, where you have highlights, you're going to have shadows as well. So you know, generally you need a mid-tone, a bright area for highlights to suggest highlights, and a darker area, because if you've got a highlight, you've got to have a shadow. Otherwise it will just be all boring mid-tone. And I just keep moving around the page, looking at different areas and thinking about where it might need that bit extra. And so let's leave that out. I really do need a bit more of a pink, because that was quite murky, that seashell pink. Let's get that out and put that aside while I think about it. Yeah, that was that. Maybe more of a Deco Peach. Let's try this. This is PC 1013. Just broken the tip there. Yeah, that is pretty much the same colour as what the Ohuhu marker is. So I'm just using that to blend in the areas where the seashell pink is. And I'm just going to do a bit of a highlight on that bookend there. Yep, that will do. Okay, now I wanted that clock face to sort of look more cream or beige than that, so I'm going to use Eggshell PC 140. And I'm going to blend that to the middle and just soften off that hard edge of the pink there. And I might also use that Eggshell for their toenails. I don't want to leave them all white. And a bit of colour on the tusk as well. maybe a little bit of that on the mouse. So I want him to be like a white mouse, but you know, they kind of need a bit of colour on them, don't they? So we'll do that a little bit there with the mouse up there as well. Might leave that one white in the picture though. And now this is a really unusual colour for the floorboards here. I don't know whether I'll have anything like that in the Prismacolor. So I'm going to use it might be a bit too orange. This is tricky. To start with, maybe I'll put some white in for these lighter areas where I used a colourless blender just to take a little bit of colour off of some of these floorboards. So maybe if I just lighten those up. And maybe get a darker colour for just doing a bit of shadow. So maybe we'll try light umber. Light umber is PC941, and I'll start in one of these less obvious areas first. And that kind of just makes it look a little bit, maybe more like it's a bit dirty and scungy, but that actually isn't too bad. So again, try not to be too regular about how you go along the line. Break it up a bit. Don't do like a perfect line in all the joins. Okay. We don't want it to look too perfect. Okay. Now, I want black in there in that fireplace. Where is the black in this set? There we go. So this is PC935 is the black, and I'm just going to bring in a little bit around those details that are there in the corners. And I'm trying not to be too regular with it again. I'm doing a bit of a crosshatch, you know, scribbly and very, very light. Very, very light pressure. And just build that up a little bit. Build it up lightly. And again, we can use a little touch of white in some of those details just to make it look like it's raised or a little bit here and there. A little bit on that elephant's head and on his arm, well, leg, but you know what I mean there. Okay. I'm going to try some of the metallic pencils out of here. I've got bronze and metallic gold. We'll try the metallic gold. I thought instead of having everything super shiny, this might be okay for these wall sconces or wall lights. So did I say what that was? That's PC950. And I don't want that too perfect either, even though it's meant to be gold. I'll do that on the inside of this frame. And I'm doing all the things holding things up with it, and I'll also do this frame here. Now you might think that I'm colouring quite messily, but I'm actually doing that on purpose because I want to add to this air of general shabbiness and sense of fun about it. I do not want this to be perfectly blended, perfect colouring. I do want a bit of this air of shabbiness about it. Actually, this could be used up here. Yeah, that works. Because it's gold, but it's not too shiny. You don't want everything to be shiny or it loses its impact. So let's go down this end. So sometimes when things are gold and they're a bit sort of grungy, they have little suggestions of brown in them. So this is Dark Umber PC947. And I'm just going to do little touches of that on there as well. You know, like it's a bit tarnished and a bit murky. That could be used just down here for a bit of detail there. And again, maybe a bit on the floor in the darker shadowy areas. Edge of that pot, and I'm going to use it on parts of his jacket to darken his jacket up. and we'll put a bit of darker bits on the elephants as well. So I'm actually going to use this to start off some shadows. So dark umber, that's PC947. I'm just going to start implying this slight shadow underneath and to the right of these things that are on the wall. And RJ's got a bit of cross-hatching there to suggest that there might be a bit of shadow on some of these things as well. So if you put that colour into all of the shadows, it just starts to suggest that little bit of continuity. And I'm also going to bring in a bit of purple in there in a minute as well. But it just helps with that continuity of tying all the elements together if you use the same colours in all the shadows as well. So it's actually not only the things that are attached to the wall that would be casting a small shadow. He's sitting away from the wall, so he wouldn't be casting a shadow on there. It's just the things that are flat against the wall that you want to suggest that little bit of a shadow happening. Gone a bit too big there, but that's okay. Now he is more up against a wall, so he could be casting a shadow there, and this one's casting the shadow on the floor, but he wouldn't really be casting a shadow onto the wall. This one is actually looks like he's up against that wall, and the table would be casting a bit of a shadow onto this elephant. So if you use that colour there to suggest that ties that in a little bit better. So I think that's probably it. A little bit under there. The actual curtain rod is away from the window, so that wouldn't be casting a shadow. And there may be a bit of a inference of a shadow here because it's inset into the frame. So not everywhere, but just in places. There we go. So if I bring in a bit of purple, I'm thinking maybe a deeper purple because we've got all the blue. So I want violet, or I might try this one, Dioxazine Purple Hue, PC132. And I'm just going to do that in these bits of black so that the black doesn't sort of be too dead. That's where the cross-hatching and so on is printed, where Jay has suggested it. It's quite dark and a lot of black. So I'm actually putting a little bit of that touch of that purple just to liven up that shadowy area. And I'm going to do that all around. And that's just mixing in with that dark umber, the brown. But if you use that over the top of the black printing, it's quite vibrant and it just gives that nice little pop of, you know, yes, it's a shadow, but it's not a dark black hole. It's a shadow and it's still got life to it. It's not deadening the picture. And it's really important trick to learn is that, you know, not all shadows, well, not any shadows really are black. They might appear black or dark, you know, but black is really just an absence of colour. But for an illustrative art piece, we don't really want that absence of colour. We want the colour to be descriptive, and you can have a dark shadow that is alive, that's, you know, reflecting and describing the surfaces around it and helping to tell a story instead of just being a deep dark black hole. So I've brought some of that into the fireplace as well, where I did have the black, just to sort of lift that, and it's nice and dark but not boring. So you could also bring a little tiny bit of that onto the elephants in places if you want to. It wouldn't be very dark though. So the areas where something might be casting a shadow there, the best places to use the purple. And then the other places we'll just find a nice grey to help deepen that up a bit. So so I'm actually going to go for cool grey, 90% cool grey. And I'm just going to use that very lightly in a few areas where there might need to be a bit darker grey going on, and it also helps to describe the elephant's skin, like it's giving it some texture rather than being completely smooth. I'm sorry, you might be able to hear my chair on the floor, but I hope that's not too distracting for you. And I think I might just come in with some metallic pen now. So I was hoping to have a like a rose gold or a copper. Yeah, this one's sort of really orangey. It's just a cheap Anko brand pen, and so I'm going to bring in a little bit of that to some areas, because I didn't really want gold, you know, really obvious bright gold. We might need it in some parts, but yeah, we might do gold up there actually. So I'm going to use this on here. And I'm going to use it on that little detail on the fireplace. And I'm going to use it on the cups. I'm also going to use it on the handles of the cups. The handle on the teapot. Just because I can. And this walking stick. And I think what I might do is use gold for the clock. So if I can find my Sakura gold, I would like to use that. Here we go. I think it's probably my favourite gold, the Sakura Jelly Roll Metallic. And I'm going to do the curtain rail. Move my pencils out of the way. And I'm going to do it inside of there. I'm going to do it inside of that frame and the nails or hooks. Just going to do that on a couple of the books. And I might just get a silver. So this is the Sakura Jelly Roll Metallic Silver. And I'm going to make this a little silver pot. And I'm going to give her silver wings. Silver spoons. So just watch that you're not working over your wet pen. I have a habit of doing that myself. And I've forgotten to do the tea that's spilling. What will I do that with? The light umber, we'll just do a very light bit of colour on there just to take the whiteness off basically. That's all we need on there. I think we're getting pretty close to the end now. Got to do that window there. What colour will we do the sky? I think it's going to be a blue sky. So I'm actually going to use the pale baby blue. The curtain is that colour, I realise that, but I'm going to try and move quickly so that I don't get too many blotches or streaks. And what I'm going to do there is use the Prismacolor Premier White PC 938. I was just going to do that bit of highlight that's in the mirror, and I should be waiting for this to dry. Just imply that there's a reflection off the glass. I need to wait for that to dry really. Got to do that little house in there. We'll use a bit of black just to do the roof, and this is the slate grey, but we're just going to do whatever that is there. It's a tree, I think. Could go around that with white, but I won't. I'll actually might do black. So we haven't really got that many dramatic dark. And let's do a little bit there just so that there's a bit of detail in there. Haven't done any shadows under the things on the table, so I'm just coming back with that dioxazine purple hue PC 132 that I've been using for shadows, and I'm just going to put a touch of that on those tea things on the table. Let's have a look. Sometimes I find when I stand back and I look through the camera screen, I can see things that I've missed better, or it just helps me you know, see those lights and darks a little bit better, and tells me where I need to sort of work on something. For example, I did some shadows, but I didn't sort of do those darker striped areas any darker. And I'm just going to grab a lighter blue. So I'm going to go for Cloud Blue PC 1023. And I'm going to use that to blend in those darker bits of pencil that I put on there that are a bit obvious. I'm going to smush it in and blend it with that lighter colour, just to soften that off a bit. Because that helps that a little bit. And just to tie the relationship together that he's hiding behind that curtain, I'm actually going to put a little bit of that blue onto the elephant himself. And just blend that in. I put a little bit of brown in him with the shadows, so that sort of helps tie that in. Possibly a little bit more on there. And I think that might be it. I still feel like I'd like a little bit more pink in. What did I use there? That was the Deco Peach, wasn't it? This one is called Nectar, PC1092. Okay, that's a bit more of a deeper pinky colour. And I've missed sort of all those bits where the little picture hook or whatever is. No, that's not a picture hook, is it? What am I doing there? They should have been gold. These are all where they're hanging up picture hooks. Okay, we'll fix that up. So that's helping to tie those shadows in there where I'm blending in all the browns and purples into that pink. This is Nectar. Better. Okay, so I needed that gold. Let's just touch up this with a bit of gold. And the only other thing that I can think of is the plants need a little bit of something. So this is Marine Green, PC988. So just the slightest hint of something on there to give it a bit of shape. And a bit on the cupcakes for continuity's sake. And I really do think that's it now. Oh, maybe a border. Not too sure whether I will do that or not. Sometimes I like to just leave it as it is. So I've got some bits in the corner of my book there. Okay, so you see all these bits of texture now. We've got all this going on with the wall. Maybe need to tidy that up a little bit there. So you can see these boards on the wall, how roughly I've done that. And the same down here on the floorboards. And you can see maybe what I was talking about here in the shadow, how the purple just makes that black printed area a bit more vibrant again. Okay, so there we go, first page finished in The Elephant in the Room from Hide and Seek by R.J. Hampson. And that's Ohuhu alcohol markers, Prismacolor pencil, some Sakura Jelly Roll metallic. And there we go, we're done. I hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know whether you think that colour scheme is awful or whether you like it for something different. I'm quite happy with it. It's a bit of a change from my usual thing. And I will see you really soon in the next one. And hopefully I will do a Neocolor 2 and an Inktense, Derwent Inktense pencil picture in this book as well, coming up pretty soon. Okay, thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye now.